Okay, cool. Morning, everybody, again. So, who knows Albany, or who knows of Albany bakeries around here? Okay, who eats Albany around? Who actually buys and eats Albany?
Majority of us.
Majority, okay, that's fantastic. So, I mean, for my side, I'm very excited to be here, because I always love to talk to students. I think you would have seen from my profile, I really love what I do. I've been in marketing for forever. I've done different aspects of marketing, and I can proudly say that I'm very passionate. I love talking about brands. I love talking about consumers. I love talking to minds and getting challenged about marketing, what marketing is today. I know it's slightly different to when I was at varsity. So at the end of the day, after my presentation, it's going to be interesting if maybe 2 or 3 people can just give me some thoughts, top level thoughts. You said you know Albany, just to understand from your point of view as potential or future marketers. Obviously I don't know what everybody does around the table. Just to hear what you guys think about Albany as a brand, and just to hear what you think Albany is doing right or not doing right from a brand point of view. So in terms of what I'm going to take you through today, I've got some 3 not so important, but actually fun facts about the brand that I'm going to share with you just to break the ice, get everybody to relax, and then I'm going to give you a very top level, high level overview of who Albany is, what we do, what we are about. And I think that's the part that you guys must try and listen as carefully to, because that's where I think you'll pick up some nuggets in terms of what's going to be helpful when you guys start working on the brief. And then the third thing I'm going to take you through is obviously the brief, where you guys can then ask me questions, some thoughts. And please feel free to ask me to clarify if anything is unclear or where you need detail. Obviously, I don't want to bore everybody with like 100 slides of PowerPoint. So if you feel like anything is too high level, please do ask, because I'm here to answer your questions and make sure that you understand as much as you need to understand. And then in closing, we have a Q&A. So how I like to work is up to you guys what's comfortable. I like to have more of a conversation through the presentation, or if it's much more comfortable for me to go through everything, and then you guys want to reserve your questions to the end.
Let's go with that, otherwise it's going to be chaos.
It's going to be chaos, okay. I'm happy with that. So I've got 3 fun facts like I mentioned. So first one, how many loaves of Albany do you guys think we sell a year? You guys said you know Albany. I know when people think about bread, they think bread like, you guys, small business. How many millions loaves a year do you think we sell? 10. A year. I give 3 guesses quickly. You said 10, 500 million. Wow, that's very close. Well done.
Did you use the maths?
Yeah. No, it just has to just make sense.
Wow.
So we actually sell 525 million loaves a year. Yeah. So according to actuaries and statisticians and scientists, if you were to stack up the loaves side by side, we could go around the world 4 times. Apparently, that's what the stats say. Or you can go halfway to the moon with a number of loaves stacked up side by side. So now that we know how many loaves we sell a year, and you've got a rough idea of how much on average we sell per loaf or we charge per loaf, how much do you think we make in terms of turnover in rand value per year? One guess, 2 guesses. Turnover. You haven't even done profit, you haven't taken out cost of sale or nothing, just pure turnover, top line. Any guesses?
Guys, remember they do turnover based on less VAT, so they don't include VAT.
How much do you think? Guys, anyone, so free. Okay, I'll give you the answer. He's very close. It's actually 6 million rand in turnover. So if any of you know Tiger Brands, so Albany forms part of the Tiger Brands stable. So these are some of the brands that we have within the stable. You would recognize the brands. I'm sure you've got some of these brands in your pantry. Your mom has them, you've got them at home. So Albany alone, as a business unit or as a division, our turnover is higher than all of these brands combined. And these are some of South Africa's top brands. If you ask anybody today, Jungle, they'll tell you Jungle Oats. But actually, as a business, Albany. So Albany as a brand is a very, very important brand for Tiger Brands. It's a very important brand for South Africa in terms of the economy and what we contribute to the GDP, etc., etc. And then last question, I don't know if any of you guys know that we don't actually sell every loaf that we make. How many of you do you think in rand values we spend on returns? So this is like wasted loaves that end up as pig food or pig feed, whatever you call it. How much do you think in rand values we waste every single year? Because of all the wastage that happens throughout the value chain.
1 billion.
How much?
1 billion.
1 billion. No, not quite. We do try and manage it. So our target is always, or the business mandate is that your returns should never be more than 1.5%.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, very tight. Very, very tight. So we actually, every year, 90 million rands in returns. But if you're to put that into perspective, I don't know if any of you guys are future or potential entrepreneurs, that amount of money that goes to waste, to pig feed, can actually buy you 243 taxis, brand new taxis every year. That's the number of taxis you could get. Yeah. So that's basically in a nutshell. So I just wanted to paint a picture of how big the business. I know when people think about bread, it's just bread, it's packaged bread, it's not exciting. Marketers, you probably get to work every day and you do nothing, you go for lunch and you go home. No. There's actually a lot of work that we do within the brand. I mean, as you know, marketing and brand is really the center of the business. Everything starts with marketing. That's what drives the business. Ultimately, the sales and everything that you see is because of the central role that marketing plays. So, just an overview of who we are as a brand. So, like I mentioned, we're very proud. So if you talk to anyone that works in the marketing department in Albany, we're very proud to be #1 brand. So when you ask consumers, through the voting, through the Sunday Times top brands, and Ask Africa Icon Awards, etc., consumers pay back to us. They see us, if you compare us to Sasco, Blue Ribbon, Sunbake, Sunshine, etc., etc., they really see us as the #1 great brand. And internally, we're very proud. We take it very seriously, and we do everything that we do from a marketing point of view to make sure that we retain our status. From a values point of view, or what makes Albany what it is, the first thing about us is that when it comes to our bread, and this is important for you guys, what sells our bread. So when somebody gets to the shelf, everything equal, the consumer looks for bread that is filling and fresh. So as a proposition, you have to make sure that you always communicate that your bread is filling and fresh. Because ultimately, that's what people are buying into. Yes, they buy into the brand, they look at the price, but what they look for from a product intrinsic point of view is they're looking for fresh bread. The second thing, this is more about us, what we stand for as a brand. Our brand essence, or how we positioned our brand, is we positioned ourselves as a loving and caring brand. So if you've seen any of our communications, and something that you guys think about when you're working on your briefs, is that our brand essence, or our payoff line, our campaign line, is really around feel the love, feel the freshness. And that's based on the basis that if you think about a home, any home, there might not be pap, there might not be rice, there might not be meat, there might not be money, but at most homes, what you're going to find at the center of home is bread. So moms, especially hardworking moms that have got school kids, elderly people, or whoever else that they live within the family, they always make sure that if there's anything that they ever have at a home, is bread. And for them, if I can buy bread, or if I can provide bread for my family, that's my way of showing my family that I actually love and care for them. Because my child can come back to school, they can make them a sandwich. My husband, if he comes back home from work early, he can make himself a sandwich. So they always make sure. They might go without a lot of things at home, but most families in South Africa, there'll always be bread, because that's mom's way of nurturing and caring and loving the family. So that's very important to keep in mind. So in terms of our consumer segments, a huge chunk. I mean, you can see, so the red bar at the bottom is Albany, and then the blue is Ribbon, Sask, and so forth. As you can see, we've got penetration across LSMs, but you'll see a huge chunk of our LSM really starts from LSM 5 and upwards. And that's because in terms of who we target as a consumers, we focus on our LSM 5 to 10 because we're a slightly more premium brand to Sasko and Blue Ribbon. So when you're thinking about your brief, just bear in mind that the bulk of your consumer is LSM 5 to 10, and then the epicenter is at LSM 5 to 7. That 5 to 7 is important, even though the income is slightly lower. A huge chunk from a volume point of view of South Africa, of the South African market, sits in LSM 5 to 7. And then in terms of from a regional point of view, and it's important you guys bear in mind for your brief, the regional, because for us, the regional nuances play a very important role. So we're largely distributed, or we're largely penetrated in Gauteng, KZN, and we're growing in the Western Cape. And the reason for that, you'll see when I show you where our bakeries are, it will make sense why more of our consumers are in Gauteng, KZN, and the Western Cape. This slide is also very important for you guys. So basically, we've got a wide range of offerings. So how we segment our offering is we've got offerings that are mainly used for everyday, because people can have it every day. It's basic, fill, and sustenance. And then we've broken them down according to fill and sustenance and nutrition. So that is really bread that's basic. It doesn't do anything other than to provide basic nutrition and basic health. So it doesn't have anything extra. And then the next portfolio, Ultima and Low GI, that's our healthier breads. So even from a pricing point of view, it's a slightly bit expensive than Superior because it does more. So it's got added like seeds, vitamins, and blah, blah, blah. So that's a slightly more premium to our everyday ones. And then we've got a range called Delight. So Delight is our indulgence range. So how we play with Delight at the moment is we use it for limited time offers. So I don't know if any of you guys would have seen, we've got Easter hot cross buns that are in the market now. So they come in, we're targeting a specific season. They come in for about, I don't know, 3-4 months. We take them off the shelf, and then next time it's something else that's relevant, maybe Christmas, Delight comes back again, it's a limited time offer, etc., etc. And then the last one, more for snacking and convenience and treats, is our Tinkies. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Tinkies or know of Tinkies, yeah. So that basically sits underneath the Albany portfolio. This, guys, is important for you because your brief is going to be based on Superior. Within our Superior range, which is our everyday range, we've got four different breads. There's our brown bread, you'll know it from the red pack. We've got our white bread, which is in our blue pack. We've got what we call our both bread. So basically, best of both is really a combination of brown bread and white bread. And that bread is primarily targeted for kids, especially kids and lunch boxes. And the reason for that is that kids, mom, as the shopper, wants all the fiber and the goodness of brown bread because brown bread is healthier. The child, as the consumer, doesn't want brown bread because they don't like the taste of brown bread. So what did we do? We came up with a proposition called Best of Both White Bread. So literally it looks and it tastes like white bread, but it's got all the fiber and the nutrients and the goodness of brown bread. So your guys' brief is going to be based on Best of Both. So it's going to be interesting to see what you guys can do with Best of Both. And then if you look at our distribution, we've got 10 bakeries around the country. We've got, from a Western Cape point of view, we've got one bakery, quite a big one. It's based in Bellville, and that bakery basically distributes to the whole of the Western Cape and some parts of Northern Cape and Eastern Cape, but largely Western Cape. And then from a Free State point of view, we've got a bakery in Virginia that caters for the big bulk of the Free State, as well as Sasolburg. So Sasolburg does like Northern Free State and some parts of Gauteng. And then from a Gauteng point of view, we've got 5 bakeries. We've got one that's in Randfontein, so that's more your Krugersdorp towards your northwest side. We've got one in Pretoria. So Pretoria is our second biggest bakery in terms of the sales and the volumes. We've got one in Germiston. Germiston is our biggest bakery in terms of volumes, in terms of turnover, in terms of profitability, because that's the one that really caters for the bulk of the townships in Gauteng. So your Sowetos, your East Rand, Gauteng North, Gauteng South, Gauteng Central, and so Global Central, etc. And then we've got a bakery in Mpumalanga. And then from a KZN point of view, we've got 3 bakeries, PMB, Durban, and Margate. So when you think about Albany, just bear in mind that the challenge that we have is that we're not as national. So we've got certain regional skews. So when you guys come up with your campaign, just bear in mind that if you want to win in terms of driving growth, in terms of driving volume, the low-hanging fruits or your quick wins are going to be number 1, Gauteng, KZN, and then Western Cape. So when you're working on your plan or your campaign, just bear those regional nuances in mind, because they're going to play a part in whether or not you can grow and how quickly you can grow. Cool. And then in terms of our channels, it's another thing that's very important. So if you compare us to other products, for example, let's take Jungle. For example, Jungle, peanut butter, mayonnaise. A huge chunk of the distribution in South Africa within FMCG is done through the formal trade or the top end, so your retailers, so your Spars, Pick n Pays, and whoever, like ShopRite, etc. Ours is very different. So a huge chunk of our sales, about 65-66%, sits within the general trade. So that's informal. That's the informal trade. So when you're thinking about your campaign, you need to sort of like wear a head of informal trade, because a huge chunk of your sales come through, if you're in bread, they come through. So your spaza shops, your convenience stores, your general dealers, and only 30% you're going to get through your ShopRite and your Checkers and whatever else. So if you want to win as Albany, if you want to win as a bread brand in general in South Africa, you have to make sure that you target the consumers, or your campaign is relevant to the consumers that are in your townships, in the informal sector, etc., etc. So that's very important for bread. And then if you're looking at our splits, I mean, I've already spoken about this, but a huge chunk, so about 93%, I showed you quite a wide range of the products that we have, but actually 93% of all our sales comes from our white and brown bread only. So as a business, I mean, you can imagine that doesn't make sense, because it means that you are too reliant on, you've got a basket, it's got lots of eggs, but you're too reliant on one egg. So the job that we need to do is, and part of your brief is going to be how we grow the other products outside of white and brown. So we know brown sells itself. You put it on the shelf, you give it a good price, point of sale, people come in and they buy it. The other ones have a challenge in that you have to do a little bit more to create awareness, to educate people, etc., etc. So that's going to be part of the challenge of what you guys have to do. So I wanted to play you guys, but I mean our sound is not working so well. I wanted to play you guys a nice manifesto that we always play for our teams internally, because it really gives you a sense of why we as Albany do what we do every single day, what wakes us up every morning. But I won't play that. I'll jump to that.
Can you guys hear it? Because your laptop's quite loud. Do you want to try?
Okay. Let's see.
I've tried to pull my teeth, so...
But it's not that important.
Every single day, before most are awake, our tractors rumble down dusty farm roads, harvesters roll across golden fields. Carefully selected grains journey from tall silos to our world-class mills. Every single day, before most are awake, Albany bakeries spring to life all across Mzansi. The finest ingredients are baked with care that we only Albany can before they're sliced, packed, and sent on their way. Every single day, before most are awake, fresh bread arrives at our nearest supermarkets, spouses, and forecourts. So when we walk in, as if by magic, there on a shelf awaits a soft, fresh-looking Albany loaf, bun and roll, ready to be given a squeeze and taken home. Every single day, before most are awake, simple acts of sacrifice and generosity happen. sandwiches are prepared, spreads are spread, and scarftinis are packed. We do this for the ones we love, the ones we worry about, the ones we want more than anything to be happy, healthy, and triumphant. We do this because when something is made with love, you can feel it. Albany, feel the love, feel the freshness.
So guys, in a nutshell, what we as marketing, our mandate really is, what we want to do is really win consumers' hearts. So typically, if you think about a consumer's journey, before you get someone to be a loyal consumer of yours, you're either at this stage where either people don't know about you or some know a little bit about you and they just accept you. They just buy you because I know about you. Like, no one is just like, oh, I only eat Albany. They're just like, okay, Albany is at the shelf. I've heard of it. I've heard that it's a good quality brand. Therefore, I'm going to buy it. Here, as a business, if you're here, you'll never win. You'll never grow. You'll never increase your profits. So our job is to always make sure that we're going from the bottom of the pyramid up until the end of the pyramid, where people really love us and they are loyal to us. Because if people genuinely love you as a brand and they're loyal to you, it doesn't matter where they go. They're always going to choose you and they're always going to choose more of you. So they're going to use you more often. And how you grow a business is marketing. Either you're getting people that are not using you to use you, which is a harder job because you have to convince. But the quickest way to win is you have to make sure that the people that already use you more often. That's how you grow as a business. So what we do genuinely every single day, we're always looking for opportunities to get consumers to fall in love with us. So that when I'm on shelf, whether or not Albany is $13.99 and Blue Ribbon is $12.99, I'm always going to choose Albany because I love and I trust Albany. That's ultimately what we are mandated to do as consumers. And the way to do that from a marketing point of view is your consumer goes through a journey. Before they choose you as a product, they go through a journey because they've seen some elements of the communication that you put out there. And as you can see, these pieces of communication or touch points or channels or media, whatever you want to call it, play 3 different roles in you winning a consumer. So for you to keep your consumer, you have to first entice them. How do you entice them? You entice them before they come into your store. So that's the role that your TV plays, your out-of-home, digital, PR, etc. Before I can even come into your store and even think about you, you have to do a job. You have to seduce me whilst I'm outside the store. The second thing that you have to do always is you have to wow the consumers. So you played me this nice TV ad, I've seen it, I'm sort of like, maybe I'll go on a date with him. When I come into your store, I need to be like, okay, wow, actually this bread looks nice and appetizing on shelf and the price is good. Okay, maybe I'll consider it. I take the loaf of bread. But the most important job in the journey that you play is that when I've chosen you, you have to delight me. So when I eat the bread, that's why for us, the freshness of the bread is very important because once I've tried you the first time, the thing that's going to make me come back is if I buy into the product must taste great, it must be fresh. So you can't let me down once I've chosen you. That's how you keep people coming back. So your brief plays a very important in the enticing for best of both because it's like, okay, now we know in terms of what's broken, and I'll talk to you later too, in terms of what's broken in that range, we know that a huge chunk of the work that we have to do is the enticing. Your brief pertains specifically to digital and PR, but it's around how do we entice people so that when they get to the store, they choose the bread and they keep choosing it more often. Cool. Are you now ready for the brief? So that was just to give you some background context in terms of what Albany the brand is. So your brief is very simple. You are the new brand manager on Albany, right? I've shown you a plethora of brands and products that we have on Albany. Your portfolio is the Albany superior range. So I've told you that within that you've got your white, you've got your brown bread, you've got best of both, and you've got another range, a SKU called 100% whole grain, right? These three are your top three sellers in terms of volumes. But like I mentioned earlier on, your white and your brown is selling itself. Superior Best of both is your third largest in terms of profitability, in terms of volume, but it's declining. And it's been declining for the last 5 years. So if you look back, 5 years ago was about 2012, 2013. From 2013 up until now, you've lost 50% of your volume cumulatively. So you come in, the MD is like, I don't want to be losing any more of that money. Because number one, I'm losing money. Number two, if you look back at the last 5 years, we can assume that if you continue at the rate that we're currently going, in the next five years, the rate or the range is going to be dead. So the MD says, I like this product, it makes sense, it makes me a lot of money, it's losing volumes. I need you to recover the volumes. Yeah. So that's in essence what you need to do. So your first task is to say, how do we arrest the decline that's currently happening within that specific range? So your ultimate goal is to not let the range die. How do you not let the range die? You have to recover the volumes that are currently lost. How do you recover volumes? You have to drive sales. How do you drive sales? You have to entice people to buy the product. So your brief is really around, you have to develop, a digital and PR campaign, so very robust, that convinces people that Bob is the product or is the range that you as a mom have to be buying for your child. And the primary medium that you have to use, or your core of your medium, is digital. However, that's not to say you can't use other channels to support your campaign. But your idea must be born of digital. And it must live and it must succeed within the digital space. By digital, I mean social media, I mean website, I mean online, I mean direct marketing, I mean email marketing, I mean SMS, whatever you guys know to be digital. That's what your campaign is about. Your target is 10% in 3 months. So I've told you it's been losing share for the last 5 years. So how do you grow 10% in 3 months, a brand that's currently losing share or that's currently losing volumes? So in terms of your objectives, the first thing that you need to do, which is the obvious one, is you need to drive awareness. We know, because I've spoken, I know at Albany, there's a range called Superior Best of Both. You know about it because I've told you about it. But I'm sure a lot of moms out there either don't know about it or don't remember it. So the first task that you have to do is to create awareness so that they know that there is this range. The job that needs to be done, most importantly, you need to educate. So you guys are going to have to do research and understand what the range is about, why you, if you're a mom or whoever else, would buy that range. Once you understand what it is about, you then have to convince or give your consumers a clear reason to believe why they should choose a grade. Because the question you're gonna get is, okay, but there's white bread, why must I choose Bob? But there's brown bread, why must I choose Bob? So your job here is to articulate what the core benefit, what the hook is, and convince consumers that actually, for your child, you need to be choosing best of both. Best of both, I mean, I'll let you guys do the research, but you'll see it's available as bread, in a bread format. It's also available as buns and as rolls. So actually, mom can choose it every single day because you can switch between bread, you can switch between rolls, you can switch between buns to make your lunchbox exciting. And then the most important thing, you have to drive trial. The only way people are going to choose the product, and they're going to continue to choose it, you have to entice them to trial the product. I mean, I'm not going to tell you guys how you entice. That's part of what you guys have to do, is to come up with how you would entice or how you would drive trial of the product. So I'll put together some tips and hints for you guys. So the first thing that you need to do, which is obvious, you need to review and explore what's in the range. Our website is quite detailed. So if you go to www.albany.coza, you'll find everything you need to know about Best of Both. It will tell you about the benefits, some recipe ideas on there. You guys make sure that you understand and be very clear in your mind what that key product group is. The second thing is very, very important. You need to understand your target market. And as a marketer, there's two hats that you always have to be wearing. You have to wear the hat of the shopper, because this is the person that makes the decision at point of purchase, what to buy. But also you have to wear the hat of the consumer, because when I'm shopping, I'm buying for the consumer. So I could be mom buying Best of Both, but I'm buying for my child. And we understand the power of pester power. So we need to find a way to make sure that the child wants Best of Both, so that the child can convince mom to buy Best of Both when they're at point of purchase. So it's very, very, very important to understand those two dynamics. First thing, obviously, you have to review your 4 Ps. So firstly, I've spoken about the product, the pricing. It's very important that you make sure that your pricing is right. Because it doesn't matter what you do, if your pricing is not appealing to the consumers, they're going to struggle. And then distribution. I've spoken to you about the distribution and the challenges that we have between informal versus formal trade. How are you gonna overcome those challenges? Because ultimately, for people to choose you, they must be able to find you. How do you make sure that people find us or know where to find us? And then the fourth one, what's the fourth? Product, price, place, or promotion, yeah. The other one is marketing, is the obvious one. And then here, it's very important. You understand the current barriers and how to overcome them. So typically the barriers that bread has, people either don't know, so there's quite a lot. If you go to a shelf, think about yourself, a typical shelf or a store, bread aisle, there's a huge range of breads. Like there's Sasco's got like maybe 10, Blue Ribbon's got 10, you've got Future Life, Consumers don't have time to try and figure out what each of the breads do. So your job as a marketer is to make sure that by the time they get to store, they're already clear in their mind which of your bread they are looking for and why they're looking for that bread. So you have to make the job easy for them, because I can tell you the aisle doesn't make it easy for our consumers. So your communication outside of the store is very critical. And then another barrier, like I said, is pricing. So creatively, you have to think now out the box. How are you going to help consumers creatively overcome the pricing barrier? Your competition. You have to understand your competition. I'm not going to give you guys too much detail, but when it comes to Best of Both, the key competitor to look for is Sasco. So my suggestion would be to go out there, go to a bread aisle or go to the website and try and understand what Sasco are trying to do in the kiddie space, because ultimately that's where you guys are competing with them. How do you then overcome, or how do you then challenge what they're trying to do? And then be clear on your channel. In this case, digital is the core, but like I said, you don't have to limit yourself to digital. You need to be clear in your mind what each of your channels can do for you. So if you're going to do digital, why are you doing digital? If you're doing PR, whatever, why are you doing those things? You have to be very clear in your mind and succinct what the different roles and the channels can play. Guys, I always like to give people a brief, and I always like to give people a template. But please feel free to think out of the box, because I don't know. Like the reason why the range is declining is because from our side we've tried whatever we think we know. So it would be interesting to also get a fresh perspective to say, oh, you guys are looking at it this way, Actually, did you think, or have you thought about if you do it like this, this can help you drive your volumes better. So I'm just here giving you parameters. The parameters are there, like I'm saying, to give you a guide, but they're not there to limit your thinking or limit your creativity, right? And then lastly, like I said, the campaign is digital, but should have other legs to grow. So if we have to decide, oh my word, it's an amazing digital campaign, actually we want it to be on TV, on radio, think about that. So start small, but think big. And then in order to drive growth, your campaign should have a viral element. I think that's an obvious digital one. If your campaign is not viral in digital, you're going to end up only always talking to 200 people. So your channel might have, let's say if you target a social media or Facebook page, it might only have 500,000 followers. But your job is to make sure that your campaign grows beyond those 500,000 so that you can get more and more people. So that's very important. And then you should be able to demonstrate a clear return on investment. So if you come to me and say, I'm going to need 5 million rands for this campaign, I need to know what am I going to get in return. So that's a very obvious one. So you guys also need to be thinking commercially when you're working. So it's not just about the creative piece, it's also understanding the commercials. That's why up front I took you through all the commercial information so that it's clear the kind of levers that you can play around to make sure that you get a return on what you're investing on. And then, like I said, the campaign should be commercial. So I'm going to love it if it's creative, but if it's not going to sell me any bread, it's not going to matter. If it's not going to give me that 10% growth, even if it's an amazing creative campaign, if it's not going to give me growth, if it's not going to sell me any bread, it's going to almost be like a wasted effort. So as marketers, and it's something that I'm very passionate about telling people about, because typically when people think of marketing, they think, oh, you guys just do pretty pictures, you guys are just creative. But actually you guys are the commercial engine of the business. So when I do a TV ad, I have to demonstrate to say, okay, the TV ad plus the in-store campaign that I'm doing is going to grow this volume by this much. From a profit point of view, this is how much I'm going to make the business, and from a turnover. So as marketers, we also, it's very important that we also think as business people. So when we're looking at the brief, those are how many things that we're also going to be looking at. That's why I said those 4 Ps are very important to be demonstrated in your brief.
Cool. Brilliant. Question.